Hey friends, welcome to Freebie Friday, where we are sewing up the Ixora pouch from Peony Patterns. So let's get into it. You are going to need your main pouch piece, a handle piece, a zipper pull piece, zipper guard, 2 facing pieces, and a zipper. Okay, now we are going to prepare our zipper. We need to cut off a 1/4 inch above that zipper stopper. So we're going to measure a 1/4 inch, mark it off. Yep, make sure it's marked really well. And then we are going to go through and we're just going to trim that 1/4 inch off. Zip. Now that we have our zipper prepared, we need to sew a new stopper on it. And they recommended sewing a tight zigzag stitch. So that's what I attempted to do. I think if you just went back and forth with a straight stitch, it would have been better, easier. Sorry that the camera panned up a little bit. I'm using new filming equipment and I'm trying something new for my videos, and I just wasn't paying too close attention to this part, so I apologize about that. But okay, so now we sewed a new stopper. Now we need to prepare our zipper tab. So we need to fold it in half so that the short edges are together, and then we're just going to press it so that we have a nice memory hem there. Now open up that zipper tab and put the end of the zipper right into that memory hem that we created. We're just going to sandwich it between the zipper tab. And sorry again that I am not in shot, but I'm going to fix it here in a second. So we need to get back out of that zigzag and into our just normal straight stitch again. Now at 3/8 inch seam allowance, we're just going to sew a nice straight line on that zipper tab and the zipper. And don't forget to back stitch so that you can lock those stitches in. And now our zipper tab is secured on our zipper. Now we're going to take those raw edges and flip them back down so we've got right sides out and wrong sides together. We are going to sew at 1/8 of an inch right where that fold is. And that's just going to help hold that zipper tape down, make it look nice and neat. It's going to stop the zipper from going too far. This is really random. I'm doing the sound after I did the video and it's just throwing me off so much. Hope it still works. Okay. All right, back to that zipper tab. As you can see now, it is nicely secured to our zipper and it looks nice and pretty. Moving on from the zipper tab to the pull tab, we are going to fold it wrong sides together lengthwise. Press a nice hem in there to keep it nice and crisp for us. And then we're just going to fold the raw edges into that center hem and press it really well. Then we're going to fold that in half so that the short raw edges are together. I needed to go back through and fix it because I didn't do a great job matching it in half, but you can see. And now we're going to sew on 3 sides. Using an 1/8 inch seam allowance, we're just going to sew around the sides, the folded edge, and then the other side. So that raw edge will still be open. And that's going to give us a really nice zipper tab to hold on, or zipper pull to hold on to when we're closing up our bag. So there we have it. Don't forget to lock your stitches. And here is our finished zipper pull. Okay, so grab your loop handle piece. We're going to get that prepared now. Just like our zipper pull, we're going to fold it in half lengthwise, wrong sides together. Put a nice crisp hem or crease in there, and then we are going to open it up. And this one I did a little differently. I just folded one side over into the middle and then ironed it just because it's a bigger piece. I find it easier to manage to do it one side and then the other. So now we're going to fold the other side in, meeting at that crease that we put in there. I'm going to iron that down, and then I'm going to fold them in half so that those 2 raw edges are now enclosed in that handle piece, and we're going to press that so that it's nice and easy to manage, and it's not going to try and flip open. So now you can see we have one folded edge, and then the two other folded edges are together. Now let's edge stitch along those two, that open end, so where those two folds were together. So we'll have a folded end, and then the stitch will close up those two, that side that was more open. So just edge stitch that about 1/8 of an inch away. And here you can see our finished handle piece. Looking nice. Okay, so now let's prep these facing pieces. I'm going to use a heat-resistant ruler. They're really fantastic for projects like this where you can iron right on them and they don't warp or anything. So we need to fold our facing piece 1/2 inch to the wrong side. So 1/2 inch wrong sides together. I'm not really this fast. I speeded this part of the video up because it was dragging. And I was like, oh, okay, we need to do something different here. So, all right, we got that first facing piece done. Now we are going to do the same thing to the second facing piece. So just fold it down 1/2 inch, wrong sides together. We're gonna get a really good press in there because we don't want it to fold up or anything after it cools down. So I'm gonna press it in and then I'll go back through and press it again. So, all right, and there are our facing pieces ready to go. Yay! Okay, grab your main bag piece and we are going to fold it in half, wrong sides together. So those short ends, we're going to fold in half, wrong sides together, and then we are going to press in a memory hem there. After you press it in, if you want to open it up, I do recommend opening it up and marking it, that memory hem, with a water-soluble pencil. I didn't, just because my fabric was holding my hems really well, but it will help later. So it's a good thing to do. Just mark that line there. Okay, so now we're getting ready to add in our zipper. So I'm going to change out my feet and add my zipper foot on there to make it easier to add zippers. Okay, so now we're going to open our fabric up, and along those short ends, one of the short ends, we are going to align the zipper right sides together. So your zipper piece should be facing your fabric. And we're just going to clip that on. If your zipper isn't quite long enough for your fabric, try and just center it as best you can. So yeah, we're just going to clip that on, and then afterwards you can baste it if you want. I don't baste it just because right after you baste it, you're going to attach the facing, but it does help if you do baste it. So we need to open the zipper halfway. That's going to help us when we attach it. All right, and then, yep, there you go, baste it about 1/4 inch right there. Okay, now that we basted the zipper, we are going to put our facing. So the same thing, right sides together, so right side with our main fabric, but right side to the wrong side of our zipper. So the zipper is going to be sandwiched in between our main fabric and our facing, and we're just going to line it up 1 to 1 there. Get it all attached, make sure it's nice and even. And then we're going to sew 1/4 inch to attach them together. Okay, so we are just going to sew 1/4 inch seam allowance right as close to the zipper tape as possible, the zipper teeth. Just sew it down. Once you get to about 1 inch before you get to the zipper head, you are going to open the zipper the rest of the way. Don't pay attention to me here because I actually close it. I don't know what I was thinking, but that's what I did. So yep, you're just going to continue to sew 1/4 inch all the way down. And here I realized my mistake, and I'm going to open it back up. Make sure you don't get the other side of the zipper tape in your seam allowance there, because that'll cause a headache. So, all right, don't forget to backstitch to lock those stitches in, and look at that, nice. Okay, now we need to fold those fabrics over so that they are opened up, we are going to press the main bag, making sure, don't undo that memory hem that you did on the facing though. And now we're going to turn it around. We're going to fold that memory hem in and then fold the facing back so that it creates a nice little casing there. And it'll prevent your zipper from getting stuck on things. So we're going to press that down, and then we're going to now sew 1/8 of an inch away to top stitch that. Okay, we have another speedy little bit here. We need to top stitch this 1/8 of an inch away. Now, I made the mistake and had my zipper closed the whole way, and you will see here, I'm like, oh no, what did I do? So now I have to try and mess with it to get my zipper to unzip so that I'm not trying to zip over that zipper head, which was a mess. So please make sure you unzip your zipper halfway at a 1/2 inch or 1 inch before you get to it. Stop and then unzip it the rest of the way so that you are not getting caught up like I did. All right, then we have our 1/8 of an inch. Now we're going to do another one 1/8 of an inch away from that backside, from that fold of the facing. I just kind of eyeballed this. I was fine with it. If you want to be specific, like really good about it, you can definitely measure it out and do it better. I think it's like 3/8 inches from that 1/8 inch, but yeah, I just eyeballed it and I like the way it turned out, so that's okay. Doesn't need to be perfect, right? But it looks great. Look at that. Okay, so now we're going to zip it back up all the rest of the way, our zipper back up. We're going to fold the raw edges so that we have right sides together, and the edge of the zipper tape is now at the raw edge of our bag, making sure it's lined up really nicely. Then we're just going to pin or clip it together. Again, after you do this, you can baste it on. I didn't. I just said, okay, we're going to do the facing. I just don't like doing extra steps. It does help though. So especially if you're new with sewing zippers or sewing wovens, I would baste it. Okay, so after you baste it, or if you're like me, you're just going to wing it, you are then going to take your other facing piece and take that raw edge and line it up with the zipper and the raw edge of your bag. Just clip that together, make sure it's nice and even and straight, and then we are now going to take that to the sewing machine and try and figure out how to sew that seam. Okay, so I was wrong. This wasn't the one that was hard to sew, but there's one coming up. Okay, so yep, we're just gonna sew 1/4 inch. Try and get as close to those zipper teeth as possible. Just sew it right on down, all the way down. And that's going to now attach the two sides together of our bag. Okay, now that our zipper is on, full disclosure, this is where the instructions got a little bit, started going a little wonky for me. So we need to open it up and we need to do to the next side what we just did with the other side. So we need to sew that facing down. So what we need to do is we need to flip the face. We need to iron the bag, and then we need to flip the facing and flip it again so that it is encased, that seam is encased. This just started to get a little strange because I was like, okay, I have to, I have to unfold it or turn it back inside out, and then I have to fold it, and it just got a little crazy, all the things I had to do, but it is worth it. It does look really good, I will admit that. So yeah, you just kind of want to press that, make sure it's really nice because you're going to be doing it blind, so you don't want it flipping up on you. So, all right, now that it's nice and pressed, we're going to flip it back right side out. I hope you enjoy my hands, my arms. This was a little tricky with the new camera setup. So there you can see it's still folded, and now we need to sew those two stitches on 1/8 inch and then like 3/8 inches away. Okay, so the best way I found to sew this facing is to just open that zipper up completely and then sew your 1/8 of an inch away from your zipper teeth, and then 3/8 inches from that, just so you get that other side of that facing. This was probably the trickiest part to sew for this bag, just because it was such a weird angle to try and figure out, but this is what worked for me. Just opening it up and sewing it kind of like a giant tube, which is basically what it is. So there you see the 1/4 of an inch, and we're going to go ahead and find that other side of our facing and sew about 1/8 of an inch away from that. I just eyeballed all of this, so it's not perfect, but it's a pretty small detail that you can't tell. Again, if you want it to be perfect, I would just kind of measure it out and mark it if you need to. But now that those are both down, making sure to backstitch to lock your stitches. Look at that, looks nice. Oh yay, awesome. So I just added this little clip in here to remind you to switch out your zipper foot and back to your regular foot. Okay, now that our zipper is attached, we just need to make sure that it's not too long. If it is, trim it up. And then we're just going to sew 1/8 of an inch away from the top of the zipper, just again to prevent it from having any issues later on when we're using it. So just back and forth, straight stitch. Now that our bag is all attached and is one giant tube, we need to flip it inside out so that right sides are together. Find that memory hem. If you marked it, it's a lot easier to see, but you can kind of see it here. And you are going to align that memory hem with the middle of the zipper. That's just so that your bag is perfectly centered and it's going to look nice and pretty. Your zipper won't be wonky at all. And then just clip those raw edges together to hold them together, and we are going to press those sides so that they are nice and crisp, and that's going to help us when we add our pleats in here in just a moment. Okay, so 1/8 of an inch on the other side of that fold, we are just going to do a nice straight stitch. Don't forget to lock your stitches. It's really important, especially when working with wovens. I mean, it's probably important with knits too. I just don't do knits on the regular machine often. All right, so we need to do it on both sides, 1/8 of an inch, and that's going to help when we put those pleats in so that that doesn't get unfolded and it stays nice and crisp for when we do our bag. Look at that speed. I don't usually do the speedy stuff, but I didn't want you to get bored with all my sewing. Okay, now that that's done, we need to measure out how far out we need to put our pleats. So I'm doing the small bag. Make sure you check the tutorial to see how far you need if you're doing one of the other ones. So I needed to measure out 1.5 inches. And then I'm going to mark this. And this is where the tutorial got a little weird. I didn't know if it meant mark both sides as in the top and the bottom or the front and the back. But it is top, bottom, and front back. So make sure you flip over your fabric and mark those pleat lines on the other side of your fabric as well. So you should have 4 total lines marked out. Make sure they're clear enough to see, because trust me, you are going to want to see them. Now that we've got those made, we're going to flip our bag so wrong sides are together. And then again, this is where I was a little confused with making the pleats. I wasn't sure if they wanted me to match up those 2 pleat lines, or if I matched the seam that we made to the pleat line and then take the other pleat line to it. So it is match the seam to the pleat line. So yeah, you'll see I'm kind of messing around here. Match the seam to the pleat line, and then you are going to take the other pleat line and put it on top of that seam. So it's going to be sandwiched in between those 2 pleat lines. And then you're going to do that to both sides, and then the top and the bottom. Don't forget to clip them together, and then if you want to, you can baste them to help in the next steps as well. Okay, now that we have the pleats folded in, we're just going to press them in so that they stay nice and crisp and neat, and they don't try and do anything wonky when we're sewing, especially because we are going to still have to like flip the bag in and out and do a bunch of stuff with it. It's going to be doing gymnastics. So we want those pleats to stay nice and firm. Again, basting will help with that as well. I hate basting if I don't need to, and I didn't feel like I had to with this, but you definitely can. It does help. So, okay. So now it's time to attach our zipper pull. We need to place that in the middle of the zipper, and then we're just going to clip it on, and then we are going to sew 1/8 of an inch above the raw edge to attach it to the zipper. I will say, I was like, what do I need a zipper pull for? But it is so worth it. It's really neat. You just hold on to it as you zip so you don't have to grab the bag. It's a neat little thing to have on there, and you don't have to put it on, but I definitely do recommend doing it. It's a nice little handy thing there. So I am going to go back and forth on this several times because it is going to have a lot of tension and pulling, and I want to make sure that it doesn't try and come apart or come loose. So that's why I sewed it over a few times. Y'all, we are so close, I can taste it. All right, handle time. You need to measure the correct distance for the size bag you're making from the zipper over. Again, I'm making the small, so it's 2 inches on either side. So I'm going to measure out 2 inches and just mark it. And then I'm going to take my handle and raw edges so that it's, here I am checking the instructions because I was like, wait, am I doing this right? We're going to put the short raw edge to the raw edge of the fabric. You are going to want to clip it to the front and the back, and then you're going to turn it, your handle, and then clip it to the other side. When you turn it, I would just kind of double check to make sure, like you see here, to make sure that when you flip the bag around, your handle's not going to be all wonky. So, and then make sure it's clipped to the front and the back, and then we'll move on. All right, using an 1/8 inch seam allowance, we are going to attach the handle to the front and the back of the bag. So it'll be it'll be on top of both layers of the bag. Again, with the handle, I reinforced the seam by sewing over it several times, just because, just like the zipper pull, it's going to take a lot of, there's going to be a lot of pulling on it and weight hanging from it, and I just don't want it to fall out on me. So I'm just sewing over it several times, really reinforcing those stitches. And then we need to do it to both sides now. If you basted your pleats in, you probably won't have those clips or pins on the edges of your bags. I just left mine on because I did not baste. So if you're wondering why those are there and you don't have them, that's why. All right, after we've sewn over both handle edges, we are ready for the next step. All right, pleats are in, handle is on. Now we are going to sew across the top and the bottom of our bag using an 1/8 inch seam allowance. With this, I was kind of like, what am I doing? But you're creating a French seam here, which I had no idea until after I finished it. And I was like, oh, hey, this looks really nice. So, yep, go ahead and do those 1/8 inch. Make sure your fabrics haven't slipped, especially if you didn't baste. You'll see later that mine did slip and I needed to come back through and do a quick touch-up of a part of it that I missed. So, but it was a super easy fix. So if you do miss, it's okay. And then again, I was like, why did I put these handles on? But I think it's really nice that we're sewing over them again because they are going to need that extra, just any little bit extra to help them from trying to fall apart and come off is excellent. Okay, so now that we've sewn the top and the bottom, this is what we have. Okay, now we're going to unzip the bag and flip it around. We need to make sure to really gently push those corners out because of the seams there, or the pleats there. We want to be careful because they can get a little confusing. I am using my purple thing. I have a ton of them and I use them for everything. Super cheap. You can get them on Amazon. They're amazing to have around, cover stitching, corners, all kinds of things. I use them for everything. Anyways, I digress. Okay, back to our bag. The pleats did kind of confuse me. So as you can see, I'm trying to figure out how exactly to get them just right. But as soon as you get them laid out, they do make sense. So they kind of fold to one side. And then here pretty soon you're going to see that I realized that I missed a chunk of my bag and I'm going to have to go sew it up. So I'll be right back. Okay, now that that hole is all closed up, we can lay our bag back out and we are going to press those pleats in really well. What you don't see is on the other side, you'll see that fold from the pleat on the back side of your fabric. So I just forgot to show that, I apologize. But you do want to make sure it's pressed really well so that it doesn't get wonky next step. We are in the home stretch. We're so close to being done. All we need to do now is sew a line along the top and the bottom, and this is going to create our French seam. So we're going to sew a line 3/8 inches down from the top and the bottom. When you sew, especially where your handle is, you want to make sure it's not all twisted around or in your way when you sew that. Otherwise, it's going to be wonky on your project. So go ahead and sew 3/8 inches from the top here. All right, and you'll see that here pretty soon my pleat was trying to come up. Make sure that those are laying nice and flat. So again, your bag doesn't look wonky. All right, now that we've done the top, making sure we lock in those stitches, we are going to flip it around and do the same thing to the bottom part of the bag. All right, so here's what the top seam will look like, and we are going to do the same thing to the bottom. So 3/8 inches, and it's creating that French seam for us on both sides so that those there will be no exposed seam in our bag. It's pretty cool. Never done it before. Super easy. I was surprised at how easy it was. Yeah, but I love it. So don't forget again to backstitch when you start and stop so that those stitches are locked in, and make sure that the pleat doesn't try and come up on you. Now that our bag is fully constructed with the French seams and everything, we just need to flip it inside out and it'll be done. So it was a super quick, easy sew, super awesome. I was a little nervous about it with the zipper and the French seams and everything, but it was super easy, super great, and I can't wait to show you the finished final product. But it was a lot of fun. And here it is, the finished Ixora pouch. I hope I'm saying that right. From Peony Patterns, super easy, super great. I am going to put all my cross-stitch stuff in it because I've been carrying my cross-stitch stuff around in a plastic Ziploc bag. So this is a huge step up from that. I love the zipper pull. I wasn't sure if I would or not, but I do. It's got lots of room. It's a great bag. The instructions were iffy, but we made it through, so yay!